It's a disgrace, say the distressed users of a government-funded transport scheme for the disabled. That harsh judgment has now been vindicated. Today, Premier Barry O'Farrell conceded it was a stuff-up, a piece of Education Department mismanagement. Hundreds of families with disabled children have had their lives turned upside down when vital bus transport services failed to materialise at the start of the school year. After many years of successful operation, the department forced operators of the Assisted School Travel Scheme to a competitive tender process, imposing financially unsustainable conditions. Now, two senior department officials have been stood down after a report into the crisis by former Education Department DG Dr Ken Boston, tabled this afternoon, recommended disciplinary action. Caro Meldrum-Hanna reports.
Oh, here we go, boys.
Morning, Thomas. How are you?
It's 6 a.m. in Sydney's inner west, and like clockwork, the Farrell family kick-starts its finely tuned morning routine. Inside this apartment in Gladesville lives a remarkable team, husband and wife, Chris and Sharon Farrell.
Tom's already out here waiting for you.
The goal is to get their two sons, 16-year-old Bradley and 14-year-old Tom, ready for school by the time their special school bus arrives in 1 hour. It's not a simple or easy process. Bradley and Tom suffer from ART syndrome, an extremely rare genetic condition.
Tom and Bradley need basically total care. They need bathing, they need feeding, they need their nappies changed, they're totally reliant on other people.
And they are just two of the state's 10,000 disabled students who rely on the government specialised bus service, the Assisted School Travel Program, to get to and from school.
They love their school. They deserve to go to school. It's one of the highlights of their life, and they don't have many things that really joyful things in their life, and school's one of them, so we would not dare take that off them.
But last week, the Education Department did.
The Education Department said that there's no more buses and we're going to get you a new one, but they haven't got us a new one yet, have they? It's been going so well for so long, and now all of a sudden the wheels fall off, like literally.
And they've been off for 2 weeks. It all began on the eve of the first day of school for 2012.
There we go.
On the Saturday morning, we rang up and said there's no bus, and no reason why, no clarification. When you're going to get one, nothing.
Chris and Sharon Farrell were forced to shoulder the burden themselves until a bus and a driver knocked on their door mid-last week. The Farrells thought the crisis was over.
When the bus turned up, it was totally unacceptable, the bus. No anchor points, not adequate anchor points, dilapidated. We don't want a Rolls Royce to take them, but this was like cattle truck material. He didn't know how to operate the seat belts.
Did you communicate your shock and horror to the department?
I certainly did.
What was the response?
Their response was they were very sorry about it.
Well, it was the Department of Education's decision to send you that bus.
Obviously, they didn't check the bus or don't do sufficient checks of the buses.
The farce didn't end there. Even when 7:30 was filming with the Farrell family yesterday, yet another unknown driver unexpectedly appeared.
So where are you from?
I'm from NSW. Yeah, see, like, mate, I don't blame you, but, you know, like, it's the whole thing is a big miss. Like interfering, they're interfering in the work.
Okay, we've never had a problem with the school buses, never.
I never had a problem.
11
22 years, I never had a problem.
11 years.
When 7:30 spoke to Omar Zayed, it became clear that the drivers are also victims of this departmental disaster.
Well, I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand how this happened.
Well, what do you want to say to the Education Department?
Nothing. Thank you very much for after all these years you make me sell my business. And
They've ruined you?
Yes, I'm gone. Workshop now, it's for sale. I can't afford it.
You ready for brekkie?
Across Sydney, the Walters were also left in the dark.
It's potluck. It's potluck who you get, it's potluck how they can care for your child, and it's potluck even if you'll even get transport from year to year.
Virginia Walters' son Michael is blind and cannot speak. He's fed through a tube and requires 24-hour care. With his routine turned upside down last week, Michael's mother went searching for answers.
When I eventually did get through to Department of Ed, they said that it had been allocated to a company, and I had asked who the company was, and they said it was Australian Wardrobes Company or something.
A wardrobe company?
Yeah, and that...
A wardrobe company was going to drive your son
to school, and then straight away it was, oh my God, who's taking my child?
Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Like so many parents that rely on the bus service, history has made Virginia Walters hypervigilant.
A few years ago, Michael got his foot loose and the driver wasn't aware, and Michael kicked his foot until his foot broke, and he had a broken ankle by the time he got home from school. And there's simple things like that because he can't verbalise what's going on.
Michael Walters may not have a voice, but this student does.
It's utterly ridiculous. We rely on that transport to allow us to get to school on time to get an education, and for them not to turn up, it's a load of crap.
17-year-old Madison Marsh has been using the assisted travel bus service to get to and from school for 10 years.
See ya.
Today, Madison is one of the lucky ones. She's with one of the best drivers in the business, Graham Murphy, a 30-year veteran of the assisted school transport scheme. Who's happy here?
Nobody. I don't think there's any winners in this situation at all. Maybe a bean counter at the Education Department who thinks he's done well by cutting costs.
Overnight, he watched what was once an efficient and well-run service implode.
It has never been this bad, ever. I blame the tender system that they've done this time.
7:30 has been informed by parents, drivers and insiders from within the Education Department. The fiasco now unravelling across New South Wales is the result of a departmental decision to re-tender all of the established bus runs, opening the system up to new drivers. According to many, the tender process was bungled from the start.
What they offered us was not a tender at all. A tender involves supplying materials or a service at a price.
So you put a price forward?
Absolutely, as everybody did. We were asked to do so.
Graham Murphy didn't expect what came next.
A set price they've come back to us with, yeah.
Across the board for everyone?
For everyone, yeah. Yeah.
So why would they bother asking you to stipulate or put forward a price if there was already a set price?
Absolutely. Why bother doing a tender at all?
Well, is that a legitimate tender?
No, not in my opinion.
It's the imposition of an across-the-board schedule of rates that's outraged so many drivers like Graham Murphy. It's seen many walk and others on the verge of losing their business. Those rates, are they now seeing you operating at a loss?
Absolutely, yeah. Somewhere between 20 and 35% less than what I was getting for the same buses last year.
Was there even a need to re-tender and change the system?
Absolutely not.
One former director from inside the Department of Education has decided to speak up. How distressing is it for you then, for a program that ran pretty smoothly under your watch, to see this now?
Appalling. I find it appalling to think that you could spend 22 years in an organisation like that and see such serious breakdown is very, very disappointing.
Ken Dixon is the former Director of Finance for the Department of Education. Prior to his departure in 2009, he was also responsible for the Special Transport Scheme, which runs at an average yearly cost of around $50 to $60 million.
There was a determination on the part of people in the Treasury, New South Wales Treasury, that there should be savings achieved under the scheme.
So why the drive then to take an axe to a transport program that is so desperately needed and for the most vulnerable?
I agree. I don't get it. I never did. The scheme was running as efficiently as it possibly could be. There was no wastage in the scheme, and I told my departmental officials at the time I told people in the Treasury that that was the case, that it was not worth pursuing to achieve savings on a scheme that was running as efficiently as it possibly could be.
But the warnings fell on deaf ears. The scheme's annual budget was capped, and it was sent out to competitive tender in 2010.
Now, with a tender closing in November 2011 and school starting up at the end of January 2012, how in the hell does that give anyone time to put in place the program? It's just ludicrous to think that it could have been put in place in that time. This is a management failure of a very major order.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that see dollars and cents and not the kids.
This afternoon, more sense was made when Dr Ken Boston, former Director General of Education, handed down his report into the fiasco, finding gross mismanagement and incompetence, pointing the finger at two of the department's top executives, who've been stood down pending disciplinary action.
And a culture of telling the Minister what he wanted to hear and the Director General, rather than what they thought he wanted to hear, rather than what he needed to know, while people scurried round and tried to fix the problem. The issue was the timeline, and the timeline was simply unpractical.
Here we go. One, up.
One in the front and one in the back, that's right.
Do you think your sons deserve better than this?
Yes, I certainly do.
What would you like to say to the Education Department then, who's handling this?
They can go and get stuffed.